Aloha, I'm Laura Reid, and oh my gosh, I just had one of my favorite podcast conversations ever. I was just a guest on Kim Sorrelle's podcast, and it really was like one of my favorite interviews because it was so authentic. She knows how to really bring out your story and anecdotes and insights in such a like real way that the hour just flew by. I couldn't believe when time was up, but I can't wait for everyone to tune into this. There are just so many golden nuggets that came out of our conversation. I feel like we were really aligned and meant to have this conversation together on her brilliant podcast. So tune in. I can't wait for you to hear it.
Welcome to the show. I am so happy you're here. You're going to be so happy you're here. I am Kim Sorrelle. I'm a writer. I'm a speaker. I get to do a lot of fun things in life. My favorite thing to do is meet cool people. I get to meet some of the coolest people to walk the face of this earth. And today I have my new friend, Laura Reid, on the show. She is an author several times over. She has a podcast. She helps people with speaking. She's a stand-up comedian. She does so many things in life. You're going to find out more. We're going to have a lot of fun today. And so I just want to say, Laura, welcome to the show.
I am so honored and excited to be here, Kim. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited that you're here. We talked about this before, but like I felt this great connection when I first met you. I was like, oh my word, we're going to have a fun show. So thank you for agreeing to be on here with me. So, Laura, I want people to get to know you. So I would like to start with you telling us about 8-year-old Laura.
8-year-old Laura never would have believed like where she is now, like who she grew up to being, because she lived in so much fear. 8-year-old Laura had a severe stutter, and she believed that a monster like actually lived in her throat. And every time she would try to speak, even just the simplest words, it would wake up and it would just eat her words. And I remember trying so hard as a child just to force out words to communicate with people that I'd have to sometimes like stomp my foot. Like it just was so physical to try to get that word out. My face would turn blue. Like I was just, choking on my own voice. And even though I went through years of speech therapy to become a more fluid speaker, and I learned so many great tips and things that helped me with that. And obviously now I am, I can speak without the stutter, although believe it or not, like I still get blocks once in a while on certain words. But what happened was because of that, my experiences as a child and the shame, the embarrassment, the humiliation that stuttering caused, I developed such extreme fear of speaking and social anxiety. I mean, I believe I was born an introvert. I'm still an introvert. I love my solitude, but that was what was hardest as an adult. And I felt like I was always hiding who I was, like I wasn't able to, like I would just kind of get through these interactions with people and just be relieved I got through it, and then go hide from the world again. So even into my adult years, I really struggled, to show people who I am, to communicate. One reason I love being a writer is even when I was a little girl, I loved writing, because that was the one form of communication where I didn't have fear and I could just express myself freely. So, I still have that, in me that helps. And that's, one thing that I love about getting to be a writer and being creative. But it wasn't until I was much older and there was just finally this sense of urgency. Like, even though overall I could fake it, that I could speak without a stutter coming up anymore, every once in a while it would, like, the anxiety would just get so strong. And when my son was about 2, I had gone back to work. I got a job as a teacher. I really needed that job. And Oh, for me, it's interesting. For a lot of stutterers, there's like a group of people, or sometimes it's an animal or something that you can be fluid in front of. So for me, it was children. Like I could be in front of a group of children and I didn't have that fear of stuttering. So teaching was a good match. However, there's still adult interactions. You can't get away from it, darn it. So I was in a staff meeting and where like I just started out. So it was a staff meeting. We're all kind of introducing ourselves and we're going around the room. I remember just introducing ourselves and as it got closer and closer to my turn, I started getting like really sort of nauseous, sweaty. I remember this feeling of just, feeling I was going to pass out. And I didn't know it then, but I was having like a full blown panic attack just from having to introduce myself in front of people. So that monster was still there. And I got up, I actually left the room. I went home sick. I told people I just had this like attack of nausea. I had to go home sick, but really I went home ashamed. And I knew that day in that moment, like as a mom now, it was like something had to change. Like I had to face this fear. And a few weeks later, I saw a sign, a literal sign. It was for a storytelling competition. And even though every bone in my body was like, are you crazy? I was like, there's something in me that was like, you have to enter that, like, enter that. It was like this divine intervention in that moment. Like, this is going to be the thing. And for the first time in my life, I ran towards my fear and I got up on a stage. I told my story. I didn't care if I stuttered or not. And that changed everything for me. Like, that was the launching point to really finding out who I was and finding out that I could inspire other people. I could help other people and really finding my voice, and that's why that's so important to me. And now, especially that was some maybe 20, 30 years ago now. So now in my 50s, I love to also help women like find that like it's never too late to be able to own your story, be the confident person you want to be and, wear what you want, be who you want to be. Like life is not forever, right? We're not here forever. And, but that said, it's never too late. So my newest book is all about that.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. What a story. That had to be so hard as a kid because it would affect everything in your life,
Yeah.
your confidence in other areas of your life, but even friendships and wanting to be a part of a team or wanting to be
Yeah.
on things or included in things that just had to be so difficult.
Yeah, and looking back now, it's funny. I was just thinking about teams and team sports and, how I was never on a team, but I like gymnastics. So it was like I would find these kind of solitary things where I could just, I wouldn't let anyone down. I think I always had the sense I was going to let people down, and I think that stayed with me a lot too. As maybe a coping mechanism. So if I was by myself or doing something where it was just really just dependent on me failing or not failing. I wasn't like, letting a whole team down. I think that's how I live my life a lot in that hiding because of that 8-year-old, 8-year-old me. And yeah, I'm just so great. I'm grateful for her now though too. And I try to take her along with me. Like I think it's important to still get in touch with your inner child and take her along with the journey so she can celebrate the wins with me now too. And in many ways, even when I was writing my book and I got kind of stuck sometimes or writer's block, I'd invite advice. This didn't come from me. It was something I'd read somewhere that I loved is, have a picture of like your child self next to you while you write and like do it for them. Like if they wanted to be like she wanted to be an author, which she did, definitely take them along with you and celebrate with you. And that really helped me. It's like in some ways, yeah, I'm doing it for the reader, but I'm also doing it for this inner child as well.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I never would have thought of that. So thanks for that. Is
You're welcome.
yeah, that's really cool. I had a pixie haircut. I mean, I wasn't the most attractive young thing, so I'm not sure what it would do for me, but
Yeah.
give it a try. I can give it a try.
Yeah.
I got a patch on an eye. I was wall-eyed, whatever. But yeah, good idea. I like that.
Yeah. Well, then, like, especially that version of yourself, right? It can be along for this ride of this version of yourself, being grown up and confident and successful and beautiful and all the things, right? That maybe she deep down wanted or like dreamed of being. You are
Mhm.
now. So it's kind of a good
Oh,
reminder how far you've come too.
yeah, I think that's true. I think that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
what a story. And good for you joining the storytelling contest.
Yeah. Thank
That was
you.
brave. That was so brave. And for it to be such a turning point for you is huge and wonderful. So way to overcome. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
that it took a lot of inner strength because there's therapists and there's, people helping people overcome different things, but it sounds like you had to just find this inner strength to really figure it out and deal with it all.
Well, I've done a lot of therapy too, but shout out to my therapist. You know who you are. But definitely, I mean, what I found is that we're always running away from our fears or kind of trying to avoid them sometimes, or, oh, I'm not going to do that. That's terrifying to me. Right. But sometimes our fears can really be our friend. And because they point us in a direction of something that we might need to face or overcome in some way. And ultimately, what I found by finally running towards my fear and embracing my fear, even embracing that monster, right? And which was in a way kind of like a shadow version of myself that, I think is so important too, to kind of love that part of yourself that you're hiding, suppressing from everyone out there in the world. What I found is that what you fear will set you free.
Mm,
So whoever is out there listening, right, that has a fear, maybe it's a fear of public speaking, maybe it's a fear of just really truly owning who they are, being out there, not people pleasing anymore, all those things, then that's a gift. Like it might be telling you something that you need to work on or embrace or love up on that part of yourself a little more.
oh, I love that. I love that. That's so good.
Thanks.
So yeah, I'm in my 60s. And when
Oh, no
I was
way.
gonna be 60, I for a while I dreaded it. I was like, my gosh, my grandparents were so old when they were 60. Like that's old people age,
Yeah,
whatever.
right.
And then one day it kind of hit me that, wait a minute, when you turn 60, like I can say whatever I want, I can wear whatever I want. I can, like there's a freedom that comes with age, right? That in your 20s,
Absolutely.
you're worried about things, whatever, your 40s, you might be worried about other things, but 60, it's like, man, anything goes and it's just freeing. So you had this hey, I'm 50
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm 58 now, just full disclosure. So I'm heading towards the 60s too. So I really wrote this book, though, with a sense of perspective, like looking back at my 50s and that sense of dread you talked about turning 50 or turning 60. I definitely felt with turning 50. And it's like I was supposed to be at the certain stage in my life, have things figured out more, definitely have, some kind of better plan and feel like I'm not that 8-year-old girl anymore. I'm definitely this and I'm confident and I don't care what people think and all that. And I found that looking back now, the 50s and I think beyond for women are when you can finally really start to feel that and not in a fake it till you make it kind of way, like a real way. You know what? I really don't care right now what that comment was on Facebook or, what someone thinks about this. And I want to wear this because, it's fun and that just makes me feel like who I am. I don't need to wear beige. I don't need to, do things the way everyone else is doing it. I don't need to care so much about someone else's opinion if I'm feeling strong about this decision. Right. And so looking back for me at my 50s, I went through so much transformation in my 50s. I got divorced. I found love again. I finally really found my voice. I became aligned with how I serve in this world. I started embracing really who I am as far as my own style, my own like all of that, right? And you're never too old to feel young and just be who you are. And but as you get older, the ironic part is like you finally feel like you have that permission from yourself. Like you don't need the outside validation or someone else's permission, right? You own it, you have it. So what a gift it is.
It is. It is such a gift. And I love it that you not only lived it, but that you wrote it. Because I've often thought, there's these books on how to raise a baby, what to expect when you're expecting,
Yeah.
right? It starts with, and then babies and infants, toddlers, and terrible twos, and all these books on adolescence and whatever. And then it kind of ends. And
Right.
I thought, man, there should be a book about how to get through your 20s because it's
Yeah.
different than your 30s. There should be another
Right.
one in 40s. And hearing
Yeah.
now you've written a book for the 50s. And I do think there's so much value in that because it's completely different than being in your 30s and your 40s. You're in a whole different place in life. And I often think like, man, my 30s, holy cow, that was like 6, 7 Kims ago. Like that
Yeah.
was, who knows? I don't even know her anymore. I'm not sure who
Yeah.
she was.
You're
But
like Kim 2.9 now or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, something, whatever it is. But I've also found it's like you do have to give yourself kind of permission to
Mm.
grow and change, evolve, and leave some of the other stuff behind.
Absolutely. And it can be such a courageous time in your life because sometimes it is easier to like keep the status quo that maybe you did in your 30s or 40s even. This is just fine. Right. I am like, this relationship is fine. It's good. It's okay. It's easy to stay. This job is fine. Like, I don't want to stand out. Right. I just want to kind of, let's get through each day and everything's fine. But then, what happens, I think, as you age and in your 50s and 60s and beyond is there is more of a sense of urgency too, because, one of the gifts of getting older is perspective. You're looking back at maybe times that like you wasted, sometime where like you were younger and you wish you should have done this thing, right? But you didn't want to take the risk because everything was fine as it was. Right. But then as you get older, it's like, no, you know what? I don't have forever now. And I'm definitely can give myself permission to do this thing. And I'm just going to freaking go for it because, now I do have that permission to give myself. And I also I don't want to wait till I'm 80 now, right? Because
Mm.
you feel good in your 50s and 60s. And there's life transitions. I mean, maybe not for every woman, but for me, my son is away at college now. I'm actually on the other side of menopause. I'm and how I used to frame it, how I used to feel with those things, I think, especially for me with hitting menopause, which I hit really early. I was actually like 40, right? So this is like, it was a long time ago now for me. And I had to go through IVF to have my son. Yeah, the doctors were all right. I was definitely like a ticking, like ticking time was ticking away for me. And I'm really incredibly grateful that, I had that, like, he's still my miracle baby, right? But I remember when I officially hit menopause and I felt so much grief, right? There's just something like it felt like this huge void and like a big part of my youth and, had just been taken away from me, even though I knew like I could definitely not still have children. It just something knowing that definitely like it just, it really hurt. And I had a woman I was seeing who was an acupuncturist, and I was seeing her for some of the menopause symptoms. And I remember she told me, she just asked me a question when I was like breaking down, in her office, like I'm in menopause, I'm so old now, my body's aging, all my bones are gonna like die, and all these things are gonna happen, right? And then she's like, Laura, what are you gonna do now with all the energy that you're getting back? I was like, what are you talking about? What energy? I feel like I need to nap for 100 years. What energy? She's like, no, think about it. Like your bodies, when you're younger, like have, put so much energy every month, right? Into like their job, right? And creation and creating and releasing this egg like every month. And now suddenly, like you don't have to do that anymore. You still have this capacity though in your body for energy. So now what are you going to devote that to? And it was huge, like just this mindset shift of that, like repurpose how do I want to repurpose all this energy? Right. So like finally I went, I took it, I was like, oh yeah, maybe I can do like I can really focus on my health, my creative projects. And I felt the same way when my son went to college and I was just like incredibly grief stricken when he left. And again, though, I asked myself that question, like, what am I going to do with this time now that I'm not devoting to him and every day thinking about and how, he's like kind of adulting now somehow and out there in the world and what can I do? And that's when I actually started really diving in with my book and creative projects. So I think asking yourself those questions as you get older too, because there's things we lose, but then there's all this that we gain that we don't always think about what we're gaining.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's so true. Yeah, like being an empty nester.
Yeah.
My mom struggled with it big time.
Mm.
We were there were three of us and we graduated 3 years in a row. And so we were off 3 years in a row. And she really struggled with it. And I thought, man, am I supposed to struggle with it? Because I didn't. I didn't. When I finally became an empty nester, I was looking forward to it. I got married young. You know, we had our kids young. Like I thought, I can't wait to be an empty nester with my husband and just be with my husband. Like this is gonna be the greatest thing. I don't know what I was looking forward to. I didn't know if it meant you got to like run around the house naked or whatever empty nesters do. I didn't know, but whatever it was, I was really looking forward to it. And not that I didn't miss my kids. It didn't have anything to
Right.
do with that because of course I did. Of course I cried when they went off to school and whatever.
Yeah.
But there was something exciting about being the empty nester. And I love
Absolutely.
that your acupuncturist told you
Yeah.
that because there is this time. And not only do you gain this time, but you can also wear white pants. Like, how wonderful is that?
That's right. See, there's so much to gain. That's
There is so
right.
much to
Yeah.
gain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. Yeah. And nowadays it's not even Memorial Day to Labor Day. And people are
I think
wearing
that
winning.
rule is outdated. I really do. I mean, I live in Hawaii, so I can always wear whatever I want, like for white pants, but we don't have the seasons. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I love that you felt that excitement, and I've definitely, I think I've gotten over that too, that feeling. And I miss my son so much when he's away, and I'm so happy when he's home. He's home right now. And I went up and counted. I realized that we were all out of drinking glasses, just glasses, and even my coffee mugs were running low. He had 17 up in his room. Yeah, so it's just sometimes those reminders too that okay, he still needs some lessons in dishwashing, and it's just a reminder like, oh boy, okay, when are you leaving? Like what is going on?
No
But
kidding. No
yeah,
kidding.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And the laundry probably got a little bigger, that
He's
pile, that
gonna, yeah,
mountain.
when
Yeah.
he's away on a little trip right now, when he gets back, yeah, he's gonna I did not bring those glasses down. He's gonna wash them and he's gonna, yeah.
Yeah, good for
But
you. Good
yeah,
for you. Because it's so tempting, right?
it is.
I
It
just want
is.
my house in order again. I want to use a glass. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, well, good for you. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting raising these human beings and then they leave. And I swear, when my kids were 4, I made them sign something saying they'd never live more than 2 miles away from me or something. And
Oh,
now they're scattered across the country and the
mm,
world. And it's like, gosh, it is a whole new life when your kids are no longer even just in college and coming home for breaks and coming home for the summer, but
yeah.
when they're like their own adult with their own family, wow, it's it's this whole thing.
But
Yeah.
what you get to do too, I think, is shed some of the labels that you've put on yourself, right? For so long. I mean, if you're a mom, and by the time they go to college, 18 years, of being like in that role of mom. Not that you're still not, but you're not in like that active kind of everyday raising this human being or more than one human being. And I find that sometimes when we strip ourselves of like that identity, and it's good to do even if you still feel it, right? Like I'm remarried. So yeah, I'm a wife. I'm, still a mom, all these things. Because of my remarriage, I'm now like instant grandma too and all that. But when those fall away, it's like, who are you? And I think it's so important to still ask ourselves as women, aging women, right? It's like, who really are we at that core? And then start to define yourself that way, right? Am I a writer? Do I want to be a podcaster? How do I want to serve and create in this world when those identities don't define me as much anymore, 100%? And that's, I think, so important when, those layers start to kind of break away.
Yeah, oh my gosh, well, that is such a great point. And you sort of reinvest in Laura.
Yeah.
You just figure out, well, what does that mean to be Laura? What does it mean to be
Yeah.
Kim without those labels? It's so true. And I think too, like what a great time to get creative. Like it can
Mm,
be difficult when you're raising kids, you're in the thick of it. You're so
yeah.
busy with everything and trying to keep your head above water sometimes with practices and school and just all the things that go on when you have an active family, when the kids are all home and they're doing stuff. And it can be easy to go, man, I used to love to knit, but I haven't knit
Yeah.
in years, because
Yeah.
you didn't have time. And so
Yeah, and
what a great
sometimes it's like
time.
you forget like what you
Yeah.
even liked. For me, like a big awakening came over the pandemic. Like I did not see this coming at all, but 2020, it was March, it was my birthday like 5 years ago now, I guess, right? Yeah, 5 years ago. And I had just gotten my first like big overseas keynote speaking gig. I was so excited. It was going to be in Indonesia, and I remember boarding the plane here in Kona, Hawaii on that day, on my birthday, and having this feeling like this is going to be the best year ever. Right. Like I'm in my 50s. I mean, I was still married to my ex husband. It was like everything was fine there. But I'm like, this is going to be, this amazing year of opportunities. And like, little did I know this plot twist, a global pandemic would hit while I was in Indonesia. So basically, I was supposed to be there just like a couple weeks. And 2 weeks later, everything shut down, the border shut down. I could not get home. And long story short, I ended up being quarantined there for 4 months, 123 days, not that I'm
Oh my
counting,
word.
away
Oh
from my son, away from my husband, away from my life. I wasn't allowed to work while I'm there. And that was ended up being such an unexpected gift in a lot of ways, even though there was so much heartache and fear involved in it and trauma in a way too. I didn't have those labels anymore. Like I literally just couldn't do all the things, and I had to rely on myself in so many ways, not speaking the language, being in another country, all of these things, and trying to get myself home. And I finally, got to really find out like who am I under all these layers when I'm just taken out of my whole environment, my whole home, all my identities, and put into this like I was in the middle of a rice field, and like who am I? And it was so interesting, like shedding the layers. I mean, I shed physical layers too, because I sweat and walked so far every day just to survive. I lost like 40 pounds.
oh my word.
And it was
Wow.
interesting because I think I lost that weight. I didn't know it, but I had been struggling with a hernia, but I don't think I even knew I had it. So I was doing a sit up one day in my room there in Indonesia, and all of a sudden, like this bulge just came out of my body, and I thought I was dying. So I was scared to go to the hospitals there with COVID and everything. So I just kind of decided I just got to make it home so I don't die here. I don't know what's going on with my body. So I was so grateful. I made it home finally on the 4th of July, like literally kind of holding in my guts, like with boarding. It took me 5 flights and 2 days to get home. But when I got home, I realized my marriage was over. Like I could see it so clearly. It was so interesting being like away from it all. And I think for me, being fine, I didn't realize how dark it had really been, how unhappy I had been for so long. And I mean, we definitely tried to make it work. We went through marriage therapy, all of that. But I just had this sense of clarity after being away so long. When you're in something, you can't really see it. And then
Mhm.
I was away and I came back and I realized how loveless in some ways our marriage was. And then being away that long, I missed my husband, I miss it. And I just wanted to be hugged. I hadn't like been hugged in so long. And I remember getting off the plane in Kona, coming back home. Of course, I got tested for COVID before I left, and I was negative, and I wore my mask and all the things, right? And I remember seeing my husband. He was just like on this mound of grass sitting. He didn't get up at first, and he had a mask on, and he just gave me like kind of like a wave, like just like, hey, like I know, and what I wanted was him to like run towards me, like just notebook style, like just like, embrace, and so much passion and everything. And I mean that it did hit me then, wow, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I just didn't know. And then things just spiraled from there. I could see how much darkness it was. So the bravest thing I ever did in my 50s was decide that I needed to leave my marriage of over 20 years. And I don't think I ever would have done it when my son was younger, but he was, older then, and I knew he could handle it. And when I finally told him, I don't know what's going to happen with you and with me and dad, like, I don't know how things are going to work out. And he said, Mom, I see it. I know. And I'm proud of you. Like he saw, like you don't realize how smart your kids are, what they see, even when you try to hide things. But he
Mhm.
saw how unhappy I was, and so yeah. But I don't think I would have had in my 40s, 30s, even when I was still unhappy with my relationship, my marriage. I would not have had the strength, the courage, the confidence I could make it on my own that I
Mhm.
had in my 50s.
Wow.
And because of the pandemic, and just
Yeah,
having that
yeah,
experience, finding myself again, like
yeah,
getting to actually like myself again, being my own best friend, like
yeah.
that was huge. So I
That,
knew I could survive on my own.
that's amazing. And there's got to be some silver linings to the pandemic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
what a thing to go through, though, not being able to get home
Yeah.
and not knowing when you would be able to get home. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but when there was the lockdown, I thought, well, this will be a week,
Yeah, I know.
two weeks max, and then the whole
Yeah.
thing's over, whatever. And no, it went on and on and on and on. And
Oh, me too. And I kept booking flights. Like what the airlines were doing is you could book a flight. So I would book a flight, and I'd be like, awesome. Like I got on this flight. I'm gonna go, I'll be home in 2 weeks. And then they would cancel it last minute because they didn't have enough people who booked it. And like there were all these other, things that happened. Like I was basically gonna be, they have to fill a certain capacity on the plane or they're not going to do the flight. So that's what kept happening. So over and over and over again. And it was funny because, well, I did my speaking at the conference, like that happened, and I ended up becoming friends with the conference organizers, who, this is a whole nother story, but they happened to be these two wonderful gay men from Serbia, both named Vladimir. Like those are just like, like things about them.
yeah.
And they were stuck too. They had to get back to to Serbia, and they couldn't get back either. So when my flight was canceled too, they're like, "Oh, Laura, we rented this place on this rice field. It has like 4 bedrooms. You can come stay with us, and I'm sure it'll just be a couple days or maybe a week tops or something, right?"
Mhm.
So long story short, I ended up living with them for my two, I call them my Vlads now, they're my brothers, for 3 of those 4 months. We lived together. They got home before me. We lived together. We became, family. We went through so many ups and downs together. I mean, little did I know, like that would be my life, and some days I woke up, it was like I would hear them speaking Serbian in the kitchen and making their super strong coffee they made. I'd be what is my life right now? But yeah, we had a really like incredible experience together, just helping each other survive through that. In the rice field where we lived, it was really remote, and you couldn't, like, there was no cars that went through. You could only get there from like paths or like a motorbike to get to where we lived. And there were all these like enormous dragonflies, and we got really into the symbolism of different animals. The first morning we were there, we had a snake in our kitchen. So we don't have snakes in Hawaii, which I love, and I was freaking out about it. But we're like, no, snakes are, let's look up the symbolism. And it's like, oh, snakes are transformation. We're going to shed our skin. And like all those things came true. So dragonflies mean like transformation too, and creativity, all these cool symbolism. So there were 3 of us at the end before they left. We all got matching, can't see it all, but we all got matching
Uh-huh.
tattoos.
Oh, yeah.
We're 3 dragonflies in the rice. This is all like the rice field. So there's one more up here. But so I have a matching tattoo with 2 Serbian men named Vladimir. And that's like a thing you would not know about me.
Yeah. Oh
Otherwise.
my gosh, I love it. I absolutely love it. There's nothing that can bond you more
Yeah.
than having to be in the same place for a long period of time like that.
Oh,
Like it's
yeah,
sink or swim,
absolutely.
right? You're either gonna
They
love
drove
each
me nuts. I can say they drove me absolutely crazy. And the day they left was one of the loneliest days of my life. Like I took, I remember they got picked up at like a parking lot. I kind of walked them to it to take a taxi to the airport. And I remember when they left, we're in the parking lot of like this grocery store, and I was gonna buy myself some food and then go home. I'd found like a place to live on my own that was just like a 1 bedroom place to, forever, however long. And I didn't know how long I was going to be there. I didn't know if this bulge in my stomach was going to kill me. I didn't know what was going on. And they drove away. And I just remember being like a ball in that parking lot, sobbing, crying, and not being able to go to the grocery store, get food. I barely just made it. Like I cried all the way home. And then I remember crying so much that I got a towel from the bathroom and put it on my pillow
Oh,
since I was like, my pillow got so wet from all the tears. Like, I just felt really alone and like I would never make it, just this feeling like I might not ever make it back home.
mm,
I was in my one of my past versions of myself. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Zimbabwe, like back in the 90s. And I remember that feeling there too when I get really sick and just feeling like, what if I never make it back home? What if I just die alone here? And so I hadn't had that feeling since then when I was back in my 20s, of just what if I just never make it back home? So, I mean, all those things like that remind you of your own mortality and your own aloneness sometimes in the world, that you have to just rely on yourself. No one's going to save me but me, right? All of those things I think really help you step more into your power and own the stage of your life you're in, and realize, whatever it is that you are really wanting to do and there's a fear holding you back, like you just like, it's time to do it. It's time to take steps to do it.
yeah, stop putting it off and just make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and I think there's something too to what you said about being able to be alone.
Mm,
When you've spent
totally.
years with your family, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know about you, but there was no me time. Like,
Yeah. Absolutely.
I would hear that term, "Oh, I just need some me time," whatever. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no, how does that even happen? And so to be alone,
Yeah.
it is quite a thing. I went through it when my husband passed away,
Oh,
and it's like, man, how do you do this alone thing? And now I kind of like it.
yeah,
I have
good.
to say, now those are okay moments when I'm actually alone.
It's such a
But
skill, and we're not always taught it, when we're young. I spent a lot of time alone as a child, and I really loved it. So I think I have always kind of that's one of my skills. Like I am definitely like my favorite TV show is actually Alone. I don't know if anybody watches that, but you're put out in these like remote places in the environment. You're really, really alone. Like there's no camera crew like Survivor and anything like that. And every time I watch it, I'm just like I'm fantasizing about being that person, like just to get out and just be alone, because so much of it is not, I mean, if I knew how to hunt, I could do it, but a lot of it is the mental game, being able to be in your own company, right? And not be on a screen all the time or whatever it is, just like enjoying your own company. And I think sometimes, maybe especially as women, we forget to ask ourselves, like, what do we like? What do we like to do? Because we're always thinking about, what do you guys want to do? What movie do you want to see? Whatever it is. And what music do we like? What colors like do I love? What movie do I want to see by myself? Like, I don't know if you've ever gone to a movie by yourself, but it's such a cool experience, like to just be like, I'm just going to go see this because I want to take myself on a date, and I'm going to take myself out to breakfast or lunch or whatever it is. So yeah, I'm all about the me parties now. I'm
yeah,
like, when
yeah,
I get a night, I mean, I have my husband and my son is home a lot right now, but when they're not, and I get like a night to myself and I can just blast music and I'm doing all my Laura things, like I know what to do now. I've got it. I've got my set list. I know the things I like, and it's such a good feeling, but it took me a while to get there, to remember like what do I even, what would a date with myself look like?
yeah. Oh, it's so true though. It's so true because you're thinking about other people always.
Yeah,
Right? Like you're kind of last on the list because you got to keep
absolutely.
son alive. You got to keep the kids going.
Yeah,
There's so much with kids and being in a marriage, and so you're kind of always thinking about what they want, what they like, what they need, and even for dinner,
absolutely.
or whatever, just kind
Yeah.
of everything. And then you need to stop and self-reflect and go, guy, well, I remember this moment working on a vision board.
Mm,
And this is years ago. My husband passed away a long time ago. And going, uh, what do I want? Like, what is my vision for my future? How does that even work? Like, yeah, it can be difficult. So to get back in touch
absolutely.
with that and figure out what is it,
Yeah.
what is it that you want? Who do you want to serve?
Yeah,
Who
I
do you
think
want to
it's so
be?
important.
What kind of
And a
legacy do you
question,
want to leave? Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. A question I have in my new book is, if you had to list all the people that you love, how long would it take for you to list yourself?
Mhm.
Right. And what would it take for you to put yourself like at the top of that list? Right. And so much of it, I think, is like reflecting it as to what you want. Like if you had that vision board, yeah, what is on it? And it is like, it's such a cool activity. I used to think it was kind of silly and too like much like arts and crafts or something. I don't know. But now I always, yeah, I've got my vision board right in the corner. And yeah, I've got myself on the Drew Barrymore show. I've got New York Times bestseller. I've got like all these different things.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I'm on Oprah Winfrey's Super Soul Sunday on
there you
mine. So
go.
yeah, there
Ooh,
you
that's a
go.
good one. That's a good one. It's good to just like visually remind yourself what you really want. So even if it's just taking little steps towards it, you keep your eye on that bigger picture for yourself and how you want to serve, and a lot of it, I think what's interesting is the more you get in touch with kind of loving yourself and realizing that it's not vain or egotistical to love yourself. It's actually the greatest gift that you can give to the world because it does
Mhm.
get you in touch with how you want to serve and the message that you want to share, or the idea, or what the book you want to write, or the podcast you want to start, or how you want to help people in the world. There's no better way than first really reflecting on who you are and loving those parts of yourself that could offer those gifts, right?
Oh my gosh, such a great point. That's such a great point. 'Cause I believe the same way. Like love has got to start with you.
Mm,
It has to. If you really want to love other people,
yeah,
you have to love yourself.
yeah,
And like you said, not in an egotistical way, but appreciating who you are. I mean,
yeah,
you're the only you. There's
yeah.
never been anybody exactly like you. There'll never be anybody exactly like you. You are the only one. You are
Mm,
a one of a kind masterpiece. And
yeah.
to recognize and go, oh gosh, that's my nose. Those are
Mm,
my
I love
feelings. So
that.
that's what I look like. That's how I act. That's my sense of humor. Whatever it is, you're
Yeah.
the only one. You're the only one. So
I love
embrace it
that.
and love it. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love it. You're a
absolutely.
masterpiece. And I think as we get older with women, it's particularly, it can get challenging, I think, because we're, all these anti-aging is kind of forced on us.
Mhm.
And but then there's like these two sides. There's this side of like, you know, just embrace who you are naturally, let your hair turn gray, accept your wrinkles, like whatever the things are. And then there's this also, no, you've got to like kind of, you know, try to disguise it or all these things, and so, but I have no judgment either way. I think if you do whatever makes you feel like you're the best expression of yourself, right? And then just deciding to embrace that. Like I am personally not ready to go gray. Like I'm not doing like, so yeah, I will dye my hair probably. My grandma, I mean, she was 97 when she passed. She dyed her hair till the day she died. She looked beautiful. And it's like, we
Sure.
all knew. And it was, so, but whatever it is that makes you, that said, I think loving yourself exactly how you are underneath it is also important. And then just, deciding, yeah, I can wear what I want. I'll do makeup the way I want to do it, whatever it is. Right. But like for me, the best way to really kind of step into being healthier, is to, because I've lived most of my life like dieting with, I had bulimia in high school. I always just struggled with weight and eating disorders. And I think finally, when I started just loving myself the way I am, and then knowing that it's just out of kindness, it's not out of depravity. Like it's kind of in the cycle of punishing myself. Oh, I ate this thing I wasn't supposed to eat. Now I can't eat for today. I'm not going to eat. Right. That's what I would do. Kind of these rewards then, or punishment. And now it's just out of like nutrition, like loving my body. So I want to put nutrients into my body so it can keep me going for another, 40 years, 50 years. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Um, and so now it's like from a place of self-love instead. I went through this one, it was like a really powerful activity that a coach did in this workshop I was taking. It was like a self-love coach. And she had us shut our eyes and put our hands on a part of our body that we really didn't like, we really wanted to change. And mine went right to my abdomen, right? Because that's where like I just never seem to get it flat, get it the way I want it to be. It's always like I'm wearing the Spanx or whatever to hide it. And so I'm like right there, it's like easy for me. Okay, this is it. And then she's like, well, think about what that part of your body has done for you. And I was like, oh, like how much, like, and then to give that, like show that part of your body love. And I'm like, I hate it because it's like, oh, I've got stretch marks there and it's all, but I'm like, I used to see it as ugly, but I was like, wow, that's the part of my body that gave me my son, like where he was developing, that stretched out to like to be able to give, give birth to him. That's been through like actually two hernia operations now, and appendicitis that almost killed me, right? All of the, all like that's the part of my body that really needs my love, that has like kept me going, that's given me so much. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing to do, right? Instead of like hating my thighs and my cellulite, it's like, well, my legs, holy crap, they've got me through a lot. Like they have walked, think about like how far they've gone, all the places they've taken me, so these parts of ourselves, my wrinkles around my eyes, it's like I have laughed so much in my life, right? That I have these like
Right.
beautiful laugh lines, right? And like all of those things, right? And my hair, if I don't want it gray, that's okay. Like that's my choice, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I love that. Yeah. What a great exercise indeed. It's
Yeah,
so true, and I think we're our worst critics, right? Like looking
absolutely.
in the mirror going, oh gosh, this should change,
Yeah.
that should change. But I always think we're the ones that decided what's pretty,
Yeah.
right? Like we're the ones that put whoever we put on magazine covers. Like
Yeah.
somehow there's been some bar set, some perfect body, some perfect face. And even the people with the perfect bodies and perfect faces criticize themselves. So I
Absolutely.
don't know who it is, but there is this, I believe, this inner beauty that comes out
Mm,
strong when you
absolutely.
embrace who you are. Embrace your physically inner, your
Yeah.
innerness, your everything about you. When you really embrace it and love it, you
Mm,
shine. Like there's a glow.
absolutely. There's like a
Yeah.
softness, I think, that happens to me, like people that look like what I would say old. It's like a harshness that develops, or it's something that it's hard to really explain, I would say. But when I look back at photos of myself, like right before we moved to Hawaii, my ex-husband and I was super unhappy. And I wasn't healthy, and I was really stressed, and I wasn't aligned with the work I'm meant to do. I swear I look older. Like I do. I just look older. I'm not and there's like now for me, even though I have more wrinkles and I technically have gray hair, it's like I know I look younger. Like I do, but it's not, it's different. It's just like a softness and a happiness, I think, that comes over people. I think about my grandma, right? She just looks so beautiful. Like, yeah, she's a grandma, she's 90 freaking 7, but there's a beautiful, like, because she's always smiling and she's just at peace with herself and her life and who she is. And there's such an inner beauty that comes with that. There's this clothing line that I'm an ambassador for. It's a woman's own brand in Canada. And there's a model, they have models all ages, but there's one model that gets the reason I love them. She's 67. She's got, yeah, all gray hair. She is the sexiest woman I've ever seen. And they're very active on Instagram, and her things are hilarious because she'll get comments on Instagram like, you're too old to wear that. No one wants to see your old knees, or like all these mean things. And she'll respond to it. And it's like she's such a badass. She's so good. And but her thing she always says is the sexiest thing a woman can wear is confidence, and just
Mm.
and being yourself and giving yourself permission to like, wear the tulle skirt and the leather if you're being, that and just it's an expression, like it's expression of who you are, and you're never too old. And anyway, but yeah,
I love that.
I
What is
love
the
seeing
brand?
that.
Go ahead. Give them
It's called,
a
oh
give 'em
yeah,
a
it's
time.
called Kate Huco, HEWK, or Huco, yeah, KO, Kate Huco. They're amazing. They're based in Canada, and yeah, they're all about just women's empowerment and yeah, fighting ageism. They have young models too, like I said, and their clothes typically, I would say, it reminds me of like how I loved to dress as a teenager because I love Madonna, so I love tulle and leather and lace and all those things. But now I still wear that in most of my like pro photo shoots that I do. And I think one of the pictures is in my new book, like I'm wearing a big huge pink tulle skirt and my leather jacket, and the skirt is from them,
Yeah.
and I'm just up on a palm tree being me. And and it's like, yeah, why not? Like
Right.
yeah,
Right.
why not?
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Why not? Why not with so many things, right?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you be you, just as you want to be you, let other people be them. And then
Yeah,
who's left to criticize? or who's left
Absolutely.
to say anything? Like, who cares? Who cares what other
Yeah.
people think? I mean, I think that's one of the beautiful things about aging is I heard that at 20,
Yeah.
you care about what everybody thinks about you. And at
Mm.
40, you don't care so much about what people think about you. And then at 60, you realize nobody's thinking about you.
Yeah, but no one ever was either.
No,
We're all
nobody
just,
ever was. Yeah.
just yesterday, how Facebook memories kind of pop up from long ago.
Mhm.
So I had this one that popped up from a really long time ago. Like I think it was like 12 years ago or something. And it was so interesting. I was just asking for a ride to the airport and I was using, I said, can anyone give Riley and I a ride to the airport? Well, one of my aunts, I'm not going to name her, and then someone else on Facebook both corrected my grammar and said it's Riley and me. And it's so funny because I remember like it triggered my memory of how I felt way back then and being like so shooken up about that you corrected me publicly with grammar and I was just so like I was embarrassed by it and like and here I'm an English major and everything like and I remember feeling and now I'm just like, you know what, like I can't believe I let that get to me. That's on them. Like if you're, I mean, no judgment to grammar correctors out there on social media. You do you, it's important to you. But to me, it was showed more about them than about me. Right.
Mhm.
And it made me laugh though. It was like, wow, old
Yeah.
Laura, I wish you would just like, a part of me wanted to still write back like 12 years later, be like, yeah, thank you so much for
I couldn't have lived another day
yeah,
without that
without, yeah,
correction.
thank you
It
so
meant so much. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's so
yeah.
funny
So you
because
got to just let that, what go.
yes.
That's like none of that matters. I mean, people that do like offend you or criticize you or some way, like I know now with 100% truth, it's always about them. Something
Mhm.
about you. And I got judged quite a bit, by the way, when I got divorced. Because people were like, could you do that? 20 years of marriage. What are you doing to your family? They don't understand like that. They don't get to know my whole story.
Mhm.
Right. Anyway,
Right.
but they never do. And it's really on them because you've kind of challenged them in some way or their idea of who you are or and yeah, it's not really about you. And that took me a while to kind of realize that no one's really thinking about me, really. Like in that moment, they're reacting,
Right.
right? They're
Right.
reacting. They're trying to validate their own belief about me and my story or
Well,
them and
and
their story.
their story. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, that I found that when something happens in somebody else's life, and quite often the people that are critical,
Mm,
it's because it's going on in their own life, but
yeah.
they're not brave enough to do something about it.
Absolutely. They don't wanna I find that a lot in the divorce realm, definitely, that happens, and I'm not gonna say it wasn't hurtful, it was I could because I lost family, I lost friends when, that all went down and people didn't really understand my story, and I just didn't feel the need to validate and explain to everybody, it's kind of none of their business, but also no one gets married and, like, wants to get divorced one day and it's always very complicated. It's never one person's fault, but I think it makes it easier for people to kind of put blame or join a team or whatever it is to again kind of validate their own justification for their reaction,
Yeah,
but yeah, I learned a lot through that and it definitely tested me as far as really truly letting go of that feeling of being judged, like and not caring, because when we're hurt, like we do care, and we have to just keep reminding ourselves that it's not about us. And we
right,
can it's hard when you're healing, when you're going through something that's hurtful to you. And I was going through a lot of pain. There's still there's, so much grief in divorce, no matter what the circumstances are. There's a lot of grief and pain. And so you're trying to heal yourself while other people are judging you and putting some hate on you and all of those things. And yeah, it's very difficult.
yeah, yeah. So bottom line, don't judge, just love,
Yeah, I love
right?
that.
I
Yeah,
mean, the last thing you need when you're going through a hard time in life is judgment. You
absolutely.
don't need it anyway, ever,
Yeah.
but especially when you're hurting,
Just encouraging people I mean, even people that you feel like they've wronged you. I find that when I reach out to those people and I show those people love, it changes everything. It just
Mhm.
love like is it just breaks through, it just diffuses all of that energy that's been harboring, and because there's a definition, I think it might have come from Oprah, actually, maybe her Super Soul Sundays, of forgiveness, which I love, which is forgiveness is letting go of the idea that the past could have happened any other way. Right, than
Oh,
how it
that is
happened.
good.
So you're just kind of whoever you think wronged you or whatever happened is just let like that happened the way it was meant to happen and unfold. You can never go back and change it, and you can't force a future. You can only just be in this present moment and love and be love and know that that is really the catalyst for everything.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of your only job.
Yeah, yeah, that's what
When
we're
it
here
comes
to
down to
do.
it, it's just love, that's what you
Yeah,
have to do. Okay,
absolutely.
so I've got a question for you.
Okay.
So I was 47 when my husband passed away,
Mm.
and dating since then has been a train wreck for me.
Mm.
Like I'm convinced that there are three wonderful men my age that are single, available, and wonderful. And one of
Mm.
them lives in France, and one of them lives in Australia, and the third one is in Antarctica. And I live in Michigan in the United States. So the chances of ever meeting them are slim to
Mm.
none
Mm.
because I've seen the opposite. I've seen a very shallow pool. And I'm sure there's great guys out there, but I don't know. How was dating
Mm,
in
yeah,
your
it
50s,
was it was
right?
a you know what show, like, if it was yeah, and the thing is, I mean, you've been out of the pool for so like, I was married for so long that I was just out of that whole pool. Things change, like technology changes, all the things, the way people date changes. Like the back when I was dating in my 20s before I got married, like we did it the old-fashioned way. We went out to bars, we got drunk, we made bad decisions. We met someone, but now
Oh,
it's
that's
like
funny.
people
Yeah.
don't really even meet naturally in person anymore. And I mean, in a way, I met my husband on that pandemic dating app, Zoom. So, um, but I mean, for me, what happened was this is like a whole nother story. It's kind of interesting, but because of the pandemic, I was in Toastmasters speech contests at that time. And so that it was an international speech contest. Toastmasters is, a big speaking organization that helps you become a better speaker. And they do this big international contest. And I really wanted to win that contest. I wanted to enter and win now that I'd found my voice and was doing speaking. And over the pandemic, it all switched to virtual. So we all had to learn how to be virtual speakers all of a sudden really fast. And during that process, I was in a contest and I remember thinking, I might win this level. I'd already won like 2 levels of it. So I was like up to this next level. And I thought I was going to win. Like the other contestants, honestly, they just weren't that great, and they kept messing up things. And I knew my story was strong. And then this guy comes on, this big Hawaiian Samoan dude. And I knew within like 3 seconds he was going to win. And I'm like, who the heck is this guy? Who is Kane Kamano? I'm just going to say his name. And it was funny. He won and I came in second. And he'd been in Toastmasters forever and won a bunch. And so he knew everybody he thought, but he'd never seen me. And he was thinking the same thing. I was like, who is this chick? She's gonna like she might beat me, And but we became like friends. We became on each other's radar. And we didn't realize at that time, but we're both in very unhappy marriages. And eventually when our marriages had both failed, we had a friendship. We decided to do a podcast together, interviewing other like contestants or people that had won the Toastmasters speech contest. That was our whole thing, is we interviewed former champions to like learn their tips and tricks. So we had this podcast we were doing that was so fun. We got to know each other really well. We never even met in person because he lived on one island and in Oahu. I'm on the big island, Hawaii. So it was so interesting when our marriages failed. We decided to meet and like go on a date. And I have to tell you, I was so nervous. We went out to dinner and I drank too much. And I put so much pressure on myself. Like I just didn't, it was just so, I just remember being so terrified by the whole prospect of being with anyone else. Like I just wanted to be just like alone seemed better. Like I can just, I'm okay with dying alone suddenly. I'm like, I just don't, this is too hard. And anyway, I had drunk so much that night that, you know, when we had come back to my hotel room and I just immediately just took a beeline to the bathroom and I just started puking. Like it was so embarrassing. But he came in, he held back my hair, he saw me at my absolute worst. I remember actually thinking to myself as he was holding back my hair, and I like hyped myself up so much for this date, you know, that I had like stickers on my, I had mantras, that I had sticky notes on my mirror, like you go girl, and like you go like all this stuff. I remember I put on false eyelashes and like I got myself all really pretty for it. Anyway, my eyelashes were like on my cheek. I remember they were looked like these big, like caterpillars. I had like puke in my hair. I remember thinking this can't get any worse. And when I throw up, I cry because I hate it so much. I'm like crying. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse because I'm in my 50s and because like my bladder control is not good, like I peed on the floor.
Oh,
That was my date. That was my first date in
oh.
in my 50s. So I just, but guess what? Like we got married eventually. So he saw me at my worst. But it was kind of is interesting because putting myself out there more with my voice and my love of storytelling, and because he loves speaking and storytelling, that's what really brought us together. And I do feel like it was honestly like a divine intervention for both of us. We had both been unhappy for so long that just like all these crazy set of circumstances had to happen, like kind of coincidences that brought us together. He's Hawaiian Samoan, like I'm this white chick from New York, like originally, like, you know, it was like that brought us together. We fell in love so hard though, you know, and despite everything. And yeah, we've been married a few years now, and it is possible. It's definitely possible, but possible to find love again. But it wasn't until I truly loved myself and put myself out there that it happened in these unexpected ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
find him. He's out there. Yeah,
Yeah.
just don't drink too much.
It's okay. I've got a dog.
Oh,
You know,
there you go.
I'm happy.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be happy with yourself. I mean, that's the
Right.
thing,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Definitely, because there's no one else. And, you know, my husband Kane knows this. He kind of, I think it bugs him a little bit, but I'll tell him, like, you don't complete me. I don't really need you, right? I want you. I love having you as a life partner right now. I definitely am in love with you and love you fully, but I don't really need you. Like I am okay on my own. I learned that about myself. I can go from nothing. I didn't know what I was going to do when I left my husband. I didn't know. The rent here is so expensive. My husband had the house. I had to find a place to rent. I didn't know how I was going to make ends meet. Sometimes I still don't. You know, I'm still like working it out. But it's like, but I trusted myself. I believed in myself, and I knew whatever happened, like I was going to get through it. I can make it work. And so I know no matter what, I can still do that. Um, and I think that's really important in relationships. No one else can really complete you. You complete yourself.
Oh, wow. What a great word. It's so true. It's so true. I love your story.
Thank you,
I
Kim.
love
Thank
it.
you.
And I love it. He must be a fabulous guy to hold your ear
Oh,
back on the first date,
he's
not just
special.
run out the door. So,
Right? I know.
yeah.
I know. I know that's actually part of a whole comedy set I do, by the way. My first comedy set I did for stand-up comedy, I put that first date. It was all about like my whole set was about dating in your 50s and being in your 50s and menopause and all this stuff, right? And so I kind of turned that whole experience into this full-blown comedy set that I kind of acted out. And Linda Blair was involved a little bit with her voice and all that, but ultimately I had a good story to
Yeah.
it. So if anything, like it can give you good material for
There you go.
things.
If nothing else, which I've got some actually from dating.
Yeah,
So,
good. I
yeah,
bet you do.
no, it's true. It's true. I could do a whole routine on.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. This has been so fun. And congratulations. I'm so happy for
Thank
you
you.
that you did
Thank
find
you.
love again and that things are going the way they are for you and you discovered
Mm,
who you are and are living it fully and completely.
thank
And
you.
good for you. Like amazing. And then your books, they're behind you. We'll put links, of course, on everything so people can buy your stuff and follow you.
Mm,
And I know everyone's fallen in love with you like I have. And
uh,
so I think, thank you. Is all I can say. I so appreciate you
Aw,
being here.
thank you so much. This has been like the hour just like flew by, and this has been one of my favorite podcast conversations. It's just like so authentic and natural and so thank you for being such a great host. And I've been really honored to be able to share my story, hear some of your story too, and just have this conversation. And I know the listeners will get a lot out of it. So
Yeah,
thank you so much.
absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll put all the details on how to reach out to you, how to
Thank
get in
you.
touch with you, all the stuff.
Yeah, I welcome that.
So, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks. And yes, our
Yeah,
time is up. Unfortunately, it did. It just flew by.
great.
But so thank you. Thank you. And thank
Mm.
you all for being here. And until I see you again, I just pray that you keep your heart open and live your love loud.